who really steered Britain through the darkest, most desperate years of the First World War. It wasn't Churchill. Not yet. Let us dive into the story of the man who took the helm when the nation was on the brink of collapse. David Lloyd George. When we think of British wartime leaders, Churchill's name often comes first. But a generation earlier, it was Lloyd George who reshaped the very nature of British government to fight and win a global conflict. Before him, the war effort was faltering, bogged down by indecisive leadership and military disasters like the Somme. The country was exhausted, and the political system was paralyzed. It was in this moment of crisis, in December 1916, that Lloyd George, a fiery Welsh orator known as the Welsh Wizard, seized his moment. He replaced the incumbent Prime Minister, Herbert Asquith, not just in a simple handover, but in a political coup that sent shockwaves through Westminster. He promised one thing: a relentless, focused drive to win the war, whatever the costs. So, how did he do it? His first and most revolutionary move was to scrap the old, cumbersome cabinet system. He created a small, powerful war cabinet of just a handful of ministers. This wasn't just a minor tweak. It was a complete overhaul of how Britain was governed. Decisions that once took weeks of debate could now be made in hours. This new, centralized command structure allowed for rapid responses to the ever-changing battlefield, from shipping crises in the Atlantic to troop deployments on the Western Front. It was a model of efficiency and decisiveness that fundamentally changed British politics, proving that in times of extreme crisis, traditional methods had to be cast aside for a more dynamic and focused approach. This innovation was pure, Lloyd George, practical, radical, and ruthlessly effective. But his radical changes didn't stop at Whitehall. Lloyd George famously clashed with his top generals, particularly Sir Douglas Haig. He was deeply skeptical of their strategy of launching massive, bloody offensives for minimal gain. He saw the horrific casualty lists from battles like Passchendaele and believed there had to be a better way. Instead, he pushed for more limited, coordinated attacks and advocated for a unified Allied command to better synchronize efforts with the French and, later, the Americans. This often put him at odds with the military establishment, who saw him as a civilian meddling in their affairs. But Lloyd George was adamant, arguing that political leaders had the ultimate responsibility for the nation's sons, not just the generals. Back on the home front, he transformed Britain into a machine geared entirely for total war. He understood that victory would not just be won in the trenches, but in the factories and fields of Britain. As Minister of Munitions before becoming Prime Minister, he had already revolutionized arms production, solving the shell crisis of 1915. As PM, he went further, introducing nationwide conscription to fill the army's ranks, implementing rationing to manage food supplies threatened by German and taking state control of industries like coal mining and shipping. This was unprecedented government intervention in daily life, but it was essential. He mobilized the entire nation, men, women, and resources, uniting them in a singular, determined effort to outlast and defeat the enemy. After the guns fell silent, Lloyd George played a pivotal role at the Paris Peace Conference in 1919. He was caught between two extremes: the French desire for harsh revenge on Germany and the American ideal of a just and lasting peace. Lloyd George tried to find a middle ground. He wanted to punish Germany enough to satisfy the British public, who had just re-elected him on the promise of making Germany pay, but not so severely that it would create permanent resentment. And so the seeds of a future war. The resulting Treaty of Versailles was a complex and controversial compromise. While he secured key British interests, many critics then and now argue that the treaty's terms were a messy blend of ideals and vengeance that ultimately failed to secure a stable, long-term peace in Europe. From a radical social reformer to a powerful war leader, David Lloyd George's legacy is one of dynamism, controversy, and profound impact. He was the man who took charge in Britain's hour of need and forged the tools of victory. If you enjoyed this deep dive into history, please hit that like button, subscribe for more stories, and let me know in the comments who you'd like to see covered next. Thanks for watching.